Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. The latest case of bird flu has been located near the Nebraska state line. The disease has been detected in a commercial flock of chickens in Sioux County, Iowa. A bird flu can travel in wild birds, but it's often fatal to domestic birds like chickens and turkeys. Less than a month ago, the USDA announced that bird flu had been found among dairy cows in several states. Now, they're tightening restrictions on taking livestock over state lines. Iowa's Governor Kim Reynolds, meanwhile, announced a disaster proclamation for Sioux County. It's been a busy weather year across the country. Nebraska has not been immune. So far this year, there have been over 1,000 tornado reports in the U.S., over 60 so far in the state of Nebraska. That's according to the National Weather Service. The last time the country had this many reports of tornadoes at this point was 2011. Currently, the country about 300 tornadoes above average for this stage of the year. Nebraska's 60 reports of tornadoes, not just ahead of pace for this point in the year, but 12 more than the yearly average. The numbers still preliminary, though, and need official verification. A park in southeast Nebraska holding its biggest event a year after a natural disaster. Kyle Mathis has more.
Rock Creek Station in Jefferson County is about to host its largest event of the year, Trail Days. This comes a little more than a year after fires swept through much of Jefferson County, including the park. No historical structures were damaged in the fires.
It was able to, be stopped here at the park by all of the dedicated fire crews that were able to come in and assist on the fire.
The Trail Day is happening just a year later. Assistant Park Superintendent Megan Sothan credits the volunteers and the first responders for how quickly the park was able to bounce back.
After the event, there's a lot of support from our volunteer groups, people wanting to help at the park, asking if we needed any assistance.
Trail Days takes place on Saturday and Sunday. The event includes historical reenactments and encourages Sothan that she knows the community cares so much about the park and its well-being.
It's a really good feeling to have, to know that, the community wants to support their outdoor spaces,
In Fairbury, Kyle Mathis, News Channel Nebraska.
The Nebraska Attorney General's office warning of a new texting scam. AG Mike Hilger's office says several Nebraskans have received texts claiming they owe an outstanding balance for a toll road and have to pay it off to avoid a $50 fine. The texts include a link to make payment. But aside from some small bridges in Plattsmouth and Bellevue, Nebraska doesn't have toll roads. The AG's office says anyone who gets a text like this shouldn't click on the link. Hilger's also advising that potential victims should not give out any personal information and should block the number. Beatrice school officials say more clearly defined procedures governing electronic devices like smartphones and smart watches will be contained in the handbook for high school students this coming year and not a specific board policy. Students will not have access to those devices while in class, but will be able to use them in between classes.
In the new policy, all PEDs are stored in the teacher's designated location requirement. That is the requirement itself. The old policy, there's not a stated requirement. Therefore, PEDs were dependent on the teacher, were in a pouch, could be in the backpack, could be on the desk, or in pant pockets, could be as long as they were upside down on the desk. So it more clearly defines, which I think helps teachers too. I think that that's fair to them too, to where this is what our entire building is doing. This is the expectation.
Violations of the procedures could result in having the device taken away, with the amount of time going without increasing with additional violations. Voigt says the procedure has a very good balance to it and more clearly defines what will happen. Valentine's Airport working on a plan to build a longer runway and add additional airplane parking spaces. Airport authorities say this is needed because of the big increase in plane traffic over the past decade. Casey Wannenberg takes a look at the numbers and other additional projects.
That's our Citation CJ1.
Jeff Harders works as a charter pilot. Around twice a month, he flies into Miller Field in Valentine, Nebraska.
We're up here quite a bit with the golf courses and bringing doctors into the hospital.
Flights at the airport have taken off over the past decade, increasing 176% from 2012 to 2021.
We have 2 world-class golf courses just south of town, not too far, and a third that's a little farther south by Mullen also. We have doctors that fly in to do specialties. We have basic tourism, hunters that come.
To improve the look of the airport for those visitors,
it's the first impression.
Several businesses and organizations, including the Rotary Club, have teamed up to improve the landscaping.
There was evergreen trees that were planted around, and bushes planted around the building, and it just became really overgrown and was quite ugly.
We want to be able to say, hey, look, this is Valentine. Come and see the rest of the town. See what we have to offer.
In addition to this beautification project, the airport also recently replaced a runway and added a taxiway.
Once they did the runway renovations and allow the larger jets to land here in Valentine, the numbers have skyrocketed.
Skyrocketing numbers that Valentine hopes will land them an even longer runway to bring in bigger planes.
It looks great, I love it.
And pilots like Harders.
We go to some places that are pretty meager, so it's nice to hang out and enjoy the scenery. So we like coming to Valentine.
I love it.
A town hoping to fly higher thanks to recent airport improvements. In Valentine, Casey Wannenberg, News Channel, Nebraska.
Mental health awareness and those who lost their battle with depression were the focus of an event in southeast Nebraska. Dan Swanson has more.
Over 150 gathered at Arbor Lodge State Park for a Memorial Day walk to counter the stigma linked to mental health crises and encourage agents of hope. Stephanie Roth gave herself less than 60 days to organize the first Shine Your Light Nebraska City event after the sorrow of suicide continued to pile up on her friends and her community.
I hope to spread hope. I want everyone to spread hope. I break the stigma. I want everyone to know that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help, not be ashamed.
Dr. Kelly Tamayo, a clinical psychologist at Complete Behavioral Health who works with former military service members, said while society tends to honor individual accomplishment and competitiveness, it is other people that can draw a person out of the feelings of hopelessness that can anchor severe depression.
You guys are here today because you're a catalyst for change. You guys are a leader in the business of mental health. You guys are selling hope, and I want you to keep selling hope because that's what everybody needs.
Some people suffer for years with depression and others for their entire lifetime. Kathy Martin and her daughter Victoria addressed the walkers about 22-year-old Garrett Sulzberger, a son and brother that lost his decades-long fight against depression on October 8th, 2023. Martin read the message she gave at her son's funeral about the toll of mental illness that is driving suicide to be among the leading causes of death in the United States.
We are not alone. And even though it takes a lot to get through it, there is hope. And if you can offer hope, it can reinstill your faith. Our community has lost a lot of soldiers in this war. Soldiers that have cared so much, but lost to addiction and depression.
Roth said she plans to hold the event every year until the stigma against those suffering mental illness and the affliction of suicide is gone. From Nebraska City, I'm Dan Swanson, News Channel Nebraska.
And it's no secret that every Husker fan beams with passion and pride for the Scarlet and Cream, but many show it in different forms. Our Jake Bartecki met with a man who combines his passion for a family car with his passion for the Big Red.
Fandom can come in many forms. For one Husker fan just outside of Lincoln, it's come with redoing a 51 Chevy.
Okay, it's a 1951 Fleetline Deluxe.
A 51 Deluxe, unlike any other. Doug Christie has spent years crafting the perfect Nebraska Cornhusker-themed retro vehicle, making changes and updates year in and year out. He's even driven several Husker coaches in it, but before all that, it was just a family car.
My stepfather, Grandma, bought it brand new in 1951. Grandma drove it for like 15 years and passed away, and it's underneath the tree. So I asked anybody want it. Well, nobody wanted a four-door green car. And I said, I'll take it.
And the tradition begins. Now Christie has modifications like a bar in the back, a complete Husker exterior done by Revolution Wraps in Lincoln, and a Husker-colored interior that blasts Husker songs any fan can relate to.
It's wonderful. I mean, we drive it to every home game. We stop about 15 tailgate parties, visit, and I give all the kids stickers, and that's awesome. And I give out water and stuff. So we have a good time on Saturday.
In addition to football Saturdays at Memorial Stadium, Christie jam-packs the offseason with appearances at car shows around the state, continuing to spread Husker pride. He says his passion for the car comes from a deep-rooted love for dear old Nebraska youth.
In the 90s and the late 80s, early 90s, we never missed a bowl game. That's when we went to bowl games. But we went to every home game, every away game, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado. We've been, for 10 years, we never missed a game. So we used to have a big tailgate party down at the stadium, and then I lost my lease. So then I said, well, I'm done tailgating, so I'm gonna start driving this and give it some exposure. I have a lot of fun with it.
In Lincoln, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.